Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this regular council meeting for the city of El Campo to order at this time, 6 p.m. Calling this regular meeting of the city of El Campo to order. We're gonna certification of quorum. All members present, except for Mr. Koblenz and Mr. Hancock. We've got 5 present. At this time, I'd like everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
This time, I'd like to have Councilman Wallace lead us in invocation.
Dear Lord, thank you for this day and all the blessings you give us. Thank you for this gathering of this community and allowing us to be here and allow us to conduct business associated with this community and keep it moving in a way forward according to your will. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Moving to item number 4, introductions, recognitions, and proclamations. Item number 1 here. We'll be recognizing for the week of May 19th through the 25th, 2024 as Emergency Medical Services Week. And we've got some EMS folks here, and I would like to read a proclamation.
Go to the podium.
And I will go to the podium if Garrett wants to come up.
His team.
All of them come up.
Oh, here they come.
It's the only time we want to see y'all now.
Welcome, everybody. This time, I'd like to present City of El Campo Medical Services Week with this proclamation. Whereas in 1974, President Gerald Ford signed a proclamation designing EMS Week to celebrate emergency medical services practitioners and the important work that they do in our nation's communities. And whereas the members of EMS teams are ready to provide life-saving care for those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas emergency medical services have grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, treating illnesses and injuries that require urgent medical response and transport to definitive care. And whereas the EMS system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of EMS teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of our city of El Campo EMS providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Eugene Bustamante, Mayor of the City of El Campo, Texas, do hereby proclaiming the week of May 19th through the 25th, 2024 to be Emergency Medical Services Week, honoring our past, foregoing, and our future. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand, cause the official seal of the City of El Campo, Texas, to be affixed on this day, 20th of May, 2024. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank y'all very much.
Just thank y'all for everything y'all do for us.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. This time, we're going to move to public comments. At this time, any person with city-related business not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the city council in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The city council is limited to making a statement of specific factual information in response to the inquiry or reciting existing policy, but may not discuss, deliberate, or take any action on any item. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. The issue may be placed on future agenda for consideration. Any public comments at this time? No public comments? We will be moving to item number 6, our consent agenda. Item number 1, approval of city council regular meeting, May the 13th, 2024, 6 p.m. Minutes.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We got a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
And a second. Councilman, motion made by Councilman Barger, second by Councilman Ward. All in favor? Raise your right hand. Motion passes. Any discussion? Moving on to item number 7. Items for individual consideration. Item 7.1, Resolution R 2024-24, authorizing the acquisition of a sanitary control easement with Prosperity Bank.
Yep. We have this in front of you. This is the last piece for that Avenue F well. TCEQ indicated that we needed that final sanitary control easement. We did buy property from Prosperity Bank, if you'll recall, but it did not include a section of this sanitary control easement. So they have signed the easement, and this is the final step. They are granting this to us for free, but it will be required to complete this project for TCEQ approval for the Avenue well, moving the Avenue well.
Mayor, I make a motion, we approve resolution R 2024-24.
We got a motion by Councilman Hodges,
Second.
second by Councilman Barger. All in favor? Raise your right hand. All against? Motion passes 4-1. Any discussion? Moving to item number 2, Resolution R 2024-25, finding that AEP Texas Inc.'s requested increase to its electric transmission and distribution rates and charges within the city should be denied.
And this might be confusing because you may have thought you already did this, which you did, but this is the second piece of it. Earlier this year, you asked that that the rate decision was suspended, and now you're taking formal action, if you elect to, tonight to issue the city's opinion that these rates should be denied. These are not rates that the city charges. This is AEP passing these on to their ratepayer with the hope that they'll lower this requested rate. Obviously, they're going to be seeing an increase, but it might help your ratepayers of AEP out if you jump in with other cities to support the rate denial. Oh, and probably most importantly, this doesn't cost you anything. The law firm that's representing this gets paid on the backside, not by the cities, but through Ronnie, how do they do that? Through AEP? Through when they set the settlement?
Right.
Yeah.
It's part of the administrative process, but they get awarded their fees.
Mayor Bustamante, I make a motion that we approve resolution R 2024-25 to deny the rate increase.
We got a motion on the floor. Councilman Ward. Anybody want to second that?
Mayor Bustamante, I second that.
Got a second by Councilman Wallace. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Any discussion?
Discussion?
Yeah, I got it. So if this passes and this is denied,
Then what does AEP do then? Well, it's all, before the rate commission, they get to appeal that decision. And, it could end up in district court, believe it or not, after it follows all the processes up before the, regulatory commission.
So is every municipality where AEP services going through the same thing?
Yeah, they're encouraging most municipalities to support this resolution and to deny the increase. Now, whether, it only takes one city, actually, to give them authority to go contest it, but they want to have a kind of a show of force, if you will, or consensus.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. We're gonna move on to item number 3, which is a purchase of 2024 Ford F-450 chassis in the amount of $56,195.21 from Vondereau Ford.
And I'm going to let Garrett address this one. It might be a bit confusing, so you'll have to walk him through this one.
Sounds good. If you recall, back on August 28th, council approved the purchase of a ambulance from Frazier. With Frazier, the chassis was bundled into that to where they do everything. You order it, and then you get a delivered ambulance. The ETA of that we knew was going to be the end of 25, beginning of 26, but we're hoping that the order bank would have at least closed by now to where we'd start getting our VIN number, something like that. The order bank is still open. We still haven't gotten a VIN or even a guarantee that we're going to get a chassis. So we decided to seek chassis bids, and Vondereau came in at the cheapest here locally at the $56,195.21. So recommend purchasing from Vondereau, and with that, the rest of the ambulance from Frazier goes down to $179,300 for actually a savings of $23,404.79. So moving forward, on future ambulance purchases, I'm going to look to try to do it separate like this now that I know that it's a savings. So just,
we canceled the other chassis?
so it's still on order until we approve this, and we'll cancel that chassis. Yes, sir. It's just a change order that we'll sign tomorrow if this is approved.
They can't bind us to it.
No, sir. The contract we had 120 days, we had to give 120 days notice from notice of delivery, and we have no notice of delivery, so we're good.
They actually could cancel it, correct?
Yes.
Cancel
Yeah,
like
they
that.
could theoretically give us none.
Right, and this is one, and then we came back at the next meeting and approved a second unit because of the lead time. correct?
Yes, sir.
And that is the next item on
Okay.
the agenda.
So, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what's the difference, Garrett, in the two? Because I noticed there was two different prices and there was two different amounts of savings. One was like 14 and change, and the other was 23 and change. It's the same chassis or truck, right?
When we did the August order, they didn't include a $10,000 discount.
Okay.
When we initially approved it, they ended up coming back later and giving a $10,000 discount. So they essentially were the same price. It's just the first quote didn't have it when we first approved it.
Okay.
If, Garrett, if you provided this chassis to Frazier tomorrow, do they have the parts to outfit it?
In 12 to 16 months.
Wow.
So it's still going to be a long time. So Ford, Vondereau is estimating a August, September delivery. And then we'll get it over to, well, actually Frazier requested us, we keep it on our lot until they're about 60 days out, and then we'll deliver it to them. So still looking at a good year and a half till we see it.
And Frazier is really the only player in that game?
They're not, but we've typically stuck with Frazier. That way, no matter what ambulance you get in, it's outlined the exact same. So when we're in that life-saving moment, we're not having to search for supply in a different spot. And they're local here in Houston. They're actually moving out to Sugar Land, so they're going to be even closer to where we don't have to drive to another state to get service or anything like that.
Hey, Garrett, is this, the way these are coming up due, is this, it's kind of concerning that they're all coming up due at the same time, because how many do y'all have in the fleet?
We have 6 total.
Okay, so this is 2. Do y'all try to stagger them?
Yes, sir.
Is that
Yes,
what
sir.
y'all try- okay.
Yes, sir. It's just this shortages since COVID has created a bind.
I got you.
We still have a van that's on order
Okay.
From a year and a half ago that we're hoping we finally get sometime this summer, we're told. It's just depending on the manufacturer, because we were able to order one van and get it the next week because they had it in stock, but a different manufacturer, it's still waiting.
No challenges in supporting the community though with what you have?
No, sir,
Okay.
no, sir, no, sir. All our maintenance people have been great in keeping us going. They get it in right away and we're back on the road.
Thank you.
What happened to or maybe we're still doing it, we started buying chassis and putting the boxes, shifting chassis out and putting the boxes on. Are we still doing that, or are we just going all new?
We're going all new for a couple of reasons. One reason is we can get a higher grant for new versus just a remount, so we can get more money for that. Two, it was only like a $50,000 to $75,000 difference. So if we're going to buy all new, well, we can sell a whole new ambulance and get more versus just selling just the chassis. So we're hoping to get more money back on our used ones we're getting rid of. So it's going to turn out close to a wash versus doing a remount.
And we're trying to stick with the same make,
Yes.
all Fords.
Well, so previous administration had went to Dodges, and we're going back to Fords. Yes, sir.
And all diesel.
These we're gonna try gas, just because the diesels are so much more expensive up front and the maintenance, and we've run into a lot of issues with the DEF systems.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Thank you, Garrett, for explaining all that. Anybody like to make a motion on the purchase of that 2024?
I will, Mayor. I make a motion that we approve the purchase of a 2024 Ford F-450 chassis in the amount of $56,195.21 from Vondereau Ford.
We got a motion
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 4, purchase a second 2024 Ford F-450 chassis in the amount of $56,195.21 from Vondereau Ford.
Yes, as Councilmember Ward alluded to, you approved 2, so this is the second one. I don't think you need to reintroduce this item unless you just want to
No.
make this meeting last longer.
Real quick, out of curiosity, who's your market for these used ambulances?
We put them on Gov Deals, and the last van we sold was someone in Tennessee that bought it.
Oh, I see, private party, just whoever.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's normally transfer services that are buying them.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mayor Bustamante? I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a second 2024 Ford F-450 chassis in the amount of $56,195.21 from Vondereau Ford.
We got a motion by Councilman Ward. Anybody like to second it?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Wallace. All in favor? Raise your right hand. Motion passes.
Thank you, council.
Moving on to item number 5. Before we start discussion item number 5, would anyone like to make a statement on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce? And we will be limited to 3 minutes.
While she's walking up, at your stations is a reconciliation that the Chamber of Commerce provided this afternoon regarding the hot funds and their appropriate use that passes the 2-part test that is necessary to use these funds.
If you could please introduce yourself and give your address.
Of course. Mayor and City Council, thank you for having us. My name is Casey Craig. I am first Vice President of the El Campo Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. And on behalf of my board members, thank you for having us. We have worked closely for years via the hotel motel tax, allowing events such as Christmas Mall, Prairie Days, the Shop Hop, other things to bring people to our lovely city of El Campo. We would like to request consideration to continue these funds so we can continue to hold these events and have people come to El Campo. We have been working closely with Ms. Barbara Bean to do an internal audit to reconcile our accounts.
All right.
I created from scratch for 2023 and 2024 all the money that went into the hotel motel tax account, all the money that went out of it. I did this on a cash basis using bank statements, QuickBooks reports, and hard copy invoices. I have at the chamber by quarter for 2023, the backup for what's on these reconciliations.
Okay. We would like to, would you like to say anything?
You need a motion and a second,
Right.
and then we can open it up for discussion.
Can you cut the?
We're gonna-
Can you?
We're gonna, which is item number 5, discussion and consideration of Chamber of Commerce funding suspension.
This is an action item?
This is an action
This is an
item.
action item.
Yes.
And,
Staff is looking for direction on how you want to proceed with funding the Chamber of Commerce for the current fiscal year. Next fiscal year can be addressed through the budget process, or you can choose to address that tonight.
Mayor Bustamante, I'll make a motion to suspend the funding of the hotel motel tax to the Chamber of Commerce for the remainder of the 2024 fiscal year.
we got a motion by Councilman Ward on the floor to suspend funding for the fiscal year of 2024. Would anybody want to second that?
I'll second it so we can go to discussion.
Okay.
We got a second on the floor by Councilman Hodges. Now we'll go into discussion.
I guess I'd like to understand some of the background here. I'm new to this, but at the same time, I just want to understand some of it. Y'all have had some of the history, I think, from the last few meetings and whatnot. Just like to understand a little bit more about some of that history and some of the reason that we're looking at this now. I'm open.
Well,
open to
over the
feedback.
last,
Yeah.
over at least 2 decades, the city has partnered with the Chamber of Commerce through the use of hotel motel funds.
Okay.
It supported them on an annual basis. The Chamber of Commerce requests the funds.
Yeah.
This year, they were appropriated $51,000 to be used for that 2-part test that's
Right.
required, because
Yeah.
the city has to report on that, and we have an obligation to meet that. So in the last couple of months, things have imploded a little bit at the
Right.
Chamber of Commerce, so there were some questions. I feel like they provided you a reconciliation. This was asked of them. They
Yes.
have provided you the reconciliation. It does show that they're using the funds as appropriated. And
Right.
so the question now is, where do you go with the appropriations going forward?
Right.
And I think they have an interim director at this point that is in the audience, Kelly Bothrop. And I have met with this board. I have met with this executive board. They seem to have a plan on how they want to proceed. They've hired Barbara Bean, or retained Barbara Bean, to look at their books and give you some answers to reassure you that the
Right.
funds were used appropriately. And at this point, they want an answer, and I think staff needs to know, do we cut these checks or not? And so that's why we're here tonight.
Because it's y'all cut them a monthly check?
It's
Is that
quarterly.
Quarterly? Okay. And obviously, without the check, they can't survive. I mean. or
They would
can't
have to
continue
answer that
things.
question and not
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, I understand. I don't know. I just,
Yeah.
I mean, y'all, the funds, y'all need the funds to support y'all's efforts.
Well, in
Let
the
me just say
events that the events that we hold, Christmas Mall,
Yes.
Prairie Days and things like that, those bring people to El Campo to promote our tourism.
Right.
That's the whole point of the funds.
Right.
And without that funding, we can't do that. And the funding is a lot, but it's also very minimal. In the event of, hiring somebody to do just those things,
Right.
right? It's quite minimal when you kind of really crunch it down and break it down. Our board is, full of volunteers, as y'all know, and we've put a lot of time, love, and effort into kind of fixing what has imploded in the past couple of months.
Sure.
There's a lot of passion there.
Mayor, I, as an ex-board member of the Chamber of Commerce, I did my duty like a lot of townspeople did. I appreciate everything y'all did, and I know how hard you worked, because I know how hard I worked when I was a chamber director. But I'm telling you, the town has zero confidence in the Chamber of Commerce right now.
Which is understandable, honestly, considering past history. But things are different, problems are gone, and we're looking forward to the future. We have an incredible board. full of small business owners, people, younger, older, a variety of different people. And we have all come together with ideas to rebuild and make the Chamber of Commerce what it's supposed to be for the businesses and for their members.
But the thing of it is, somebody should have addressed the members, like my company and myself and my wife. Somebody should have let us know what's going on. I mean, this has been going on for 2 months and we know nothing other than the Chamber of Commerce had a thief amongst them. And like I said, the members have zero confidence, because I was on the board when Becca Soko was the director. I was on the executive board. We had a meeting before the meeting to go over the financials. We looked at the financials every month and then passed it around the table and everybody looked at the financials. How could this have gone on so long without anybody knowing?
It's a perfectly valid question. And this is my second year on the board. And so when I join, you have confidence in your leadership, going into it, and whenever this person has been doing it for 22 years, who am I to ask? Who am I to question why they're doing what they are doing the way that they're doing it?
So nobody saw financials in all this amount of time.
They weren't given accurate financials from what I can determine. The board wasn't.
Well,
But why? This is a gross failure of the board and of the oversight by not reviewing the financials, not by reviewing the bank statements and reconciling them. You're trusting one person to do this, or maybe two people. I mean, I can go, here's my stance. First of all, you should have had audited financials on an annual basis because you're a 501(c). So your 501(c) is in jeopardy if it's not already been dissolved or withheld or whatnot. I don't know. My issue here primarily is, what does the chamber do? That's the question I hear in town all the time. Number two, the first thing you guys did was you put out a press release, or a release that said, we've accepted the resignation of the executive director effective immediately. That right there sends a flag up that something bad happened. You could have handled it much differently. Then you had a meeting scheduled with us, a meeting to meet with us, and you canceled it. So you didn't even come in and say, hey, this is what we're going through. You instead went to the police department and filed a police report. So there's an investigation going. So like David said, we haven't heard anything. We're just reading it in a paper and we're hearing all the things on the street. But I disagree with you. I think that the city can provide the services for that $51,000. I think we can provide someone that's going to go above and beyond. And for the past, I'd say, 6 years at least that I've been watching, the city's been doing quite a bit of the hotel motel tax work. I mean, there's little things that the chamber can participate in, but no, you've got to file, or you got to pay a fee to have a chamber blast. You got to pay fee for this. You got to pay for this. And here's the big thing that gets me. I appreciate this, Miss Bean. I don't know if it's, I don't know where it came from or anything, because I don't have the data, but I'll trust you. Did you know that in 2020 and 2021, the city, the taxpayers, covered the difference in a hotel motel tax? So where did that money go? So that's our tax dollars from our sales tax, ad valorem taxes, as well as whatever the hotel motel. There was just no oversight. So in 2 months, you want us to believe that now you have that oversight and you have a path to fix this.
Yes.
well, as Mayor of El Campo, appreciate everything the chamber has done and is doing. At this time, we have a motion and a second on the floor to suspend funding for the fiscal year of 2024. Like I said, I appreciate everything that the chamber has done and is doing, and hopefully we can get something figured out moving forward. But at this time, we got a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand. All against? Motion passes to defund the Chamber of Commerce.
Mayor, motion passes to
I mean,
suspend the
passes
payment.
To suspend the payment. I'm sorry. I got things on my mind. I apologize. But anyways, at this time. So we'll convene at another time, I guess. Convene.
Yes, we will be bringing it back for future consideration to release the funding or withhold it.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, actually, it would be in the 2025 budget. when
Yeah,
we
you
fund
will
it.
be seeing this in the budget
Right.
cycle.
Budget
100%.
cycle,
Right.
yes.
Yes.
And once again, thank y'all. Moving on to item number 6, discussion and consideration of Community Services Director position, funding for fiscal year '24.
Yes, included in your packet is a job description for a community services director position, which was not funded in the '24 budget, so would need to be funded for the, if council elects to go forward with this position, we would need to bring you a budget amendment to cover this, which would look at roughly like $27,500 for salary and benefits for the remaining 3 months of the year, should you elect to fund this. Couple of things you want to keep in mind. Logistically, we do not have a location for this person at this time. We do not know where we, probably in a conference room, because we are out of offices at City Hall, and we do not have any offices at Public Works. So that is a concern of staff. Another concern is, what are you gonna do with the Chamber of Commerce moving forward in '25, which you can't answer at this moment, but we want you to be aware that if you use any hotel motel to support this, funds to support this position, that could jeopardize their funding, or we could have to eat that out of the general fund. We're gonna need clarification on that, because the budget cycle is coming up and we have to present you a budget in July. So those are things just to think about. We are not asking you to hire somebody tonight. We are asking if you want us to post this position or not. And so, should you elect to tell us to post this position, we would post this position, we would bring it back to you. Once we found a qualified applicant, you would have to approve my recommendation if that's the direction we go tonight.
So if we do this, does that position, will that do basically what the Chamber of Commerce is doing?
There is no way one person can do what the Chamber of Commerce is doing, in my opinion, at the city. They have a lot of volunteers that help them, that pull the load, and we do not have that at our fingertips.
Could this position do the Christmas Mall and the parade?
Without the volunteers to support it, how are they gonna do that?
I
I mean, I don't understand that. I mean, you know, you'd have to get, that person would have to get support behind it.
mean, the board does so much work.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
But I guess my question is why? What's the reason for the position?
Well, there's a couple of reasons you'd want to
Yeah.
hire this position. The first is it would be oversight over our civic center and our aquatic center, which
Okay.
right now is very decentralized. Our civic center is
Okay, so
managed
we're-
by your finance director,
Okay.
as well as your public works for the maintenance and your assistant
So
city
we're
manager.
looking for another FTE to support based on the resource loading of the
I
city.
mean, that's part of it, but then there's the marketing and tourism element that we don't have at the city. So if you aren't funding the chamber, where are you gonna have some of this happen? But could we do what they're doing with one person for 51,000 that we're paying them? Absolutely not. I don't know if a Christmas mall could be done by one person. I just know that this board does so much to carry the load for the one person at the Chamber of Commerce. So I can't promise you that, actually, I can tell you definitively that this person can't do what they're doing. But it's not set up to do that. It's set up, this position's set up to take us in the direction to promote tourism in the city. You heard the Little League come up here a few weeks ago and tell you we need to work more with them. We agree. And we think that we can bring more people in the city doing that with that. But at this time, you know, you could wait till the budget cycle to open this position.
That was something that I was gonna throw out there, is the timing of it. Does the timing have to be now? Because it seems like there's some things in flux here, and that's what's concerning me, is we're still in a little bit of a state of flux with the chamber and what's going on. Is it necessary that we do this now? That's just a question.
If you're asking administratively
Yeah.
if we need this position right now,
Yeah,
a staff's recommendation on that right now,
Yeah.
I don't, it takes a while to bring someone in, so I don't know how long that would take.
Right, understood.
And so that might complicate things, but
Understand.
we don't have to have this position right now to continue doing the operations the city provides.
Okay.
Keep in mind that
would-
this position's not to replace the chamber.
No.
And the chamber can stand on its own. The chamber has a role and responsibility. And I've said this before, and this is why I don't understand why there aren't more meetings. That's what that meeting was for, the council and the chamber to discuss roles, responsibilities, how we can work together. And that goes with the CDC, that goes with the hospital, that goes with the school. The chamber is a very integral part of the development of your community. You're not here to bring in the economic development. You're not here to go recruit the businesses, but you're here to promote why someone should be here. You're I'll use, for lack of a better term, the cheerleader. You're here to say, these are all the things that we have to offer. These are the reasons on top of. You're the glue that kind of pulls them together and says, hey, I can make these introductions. I can get you in front of these folks. Oh, do we need a motion?
No, we're getting a little.
Yeah, we're getting a little out.
And we do need a motion.
At
Okay,
at
well,
this,
I'll
at
make
this
a-
time, I would like to recommend that we table a discussion and consideration for the Community Services Director. If anybody would like to make
You made the
We
motion.
don't need a motion, we don't have to vote on
We
this.
do.
so we-
I've got a question for Kaylee. If we table versus postpone is it indefinite?
It would be, I prefer postpone until a certain date, so if you wanted to say until, after budget discussions, that would be better, 'cause I think that's what y'all are going for here, or do y'all have a certain time, and
When did you want to
I'd-
postpone this?
I'd like to see us get the budget cycle going and figure out what we got going on and go from there.
You want to postpone this till,
I would like to postpone this until our budget cycle and go from there. If anybody would like to make a motion, a second,
Well, you made the motion.
made the motion.
I'll second that, Mayor Bustamante.
We got a motion on the floor and a second by Councilman Wallace.
Okay, now we can discuss?
We can discuss.
Go ahead. You have something? Why postpone it? This is a position that I think could be, or should be very valuable to bridge the gap with certain, whether it's the chamber, the aquatic center, the good grief, the civic center, your little leagues, your red waves, all of this. We don't have those relationships. In fact, I'll go back to it and beat this horse again. We don't have any agreements with anyone. We need to get these agreements with roles, responsibilities, accountabilities, consequences, et cetera, in place. And we go back to, we say we don't have any space. We've got a building sitting over here that we bought that's been sitting idle for what, 2 years now? Turn the power on, turn the water on, and let's actually generate some effort out of that building instead of it just sitting there. We took it off the tax roll, off of the main thoroughfare, and it's just sitting there doing nothing. So, I mean, I think you could find space. I think there's a way to make it work. Could be a good time that we find the right person, but this isn't.
I've got a question. I don't think anybody on council was here when that position was done away with. Just Ronnie and Courtney were here. Why was the position done away with?
it was done away with to fund the planning director position.
Well, I could
And
argue
we,
have roles
and
that
we
that aren't necessary, that could be combined in a different manner. If I were to look at the structure of the entity, I could see where things could be shifted.
we got a motion and a second on the floor.
Hey, well, for one thing, Mayor, I'm not opposed to the position. I do think this is moving just a tad bit fast, that's all.
That's the reason for the
And
motion.
it's, because, the 27.5 this year is no big deal, but it's an ongoing 110 for a guy with a family. And that's where, or a lady with a family, that's where my concern is. I'm not saying it's not the right move, but I do think it's just a tad premature.
And that's where I'm at, Blake. I don't think that it's, I'm not for or against right now, but I feel like we need to soak on this a bit so that we understand the full impacts of it.
That is the
Now we're
reason-
talking about perpetual, you know, like you said, money, salary, benefits, all that going forward. I mean, it's a strategic move for the city, you know.
It
Question.
is, and that is,
Kaylee, I have a question. Can we move this thing out of postponement earlier? I mean, we've got a hypothetical date during budget. I mean, if we're able to see some figures next month or the month after, are we able to bring it back?
Yeah, I mean, you're postponing it until more information becomes available.
Okay.
So it's at the time that y'all decide to take it off the table, to
Yep.
readdress it.
Very good, thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
okay, so we still have a motion and a second on the floor.
To postpone it until
To
we have more
postpone it
information.
until further details.
Yes, sir.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? 4-1, motion passes to postpone.
We will
Further
bring
detail.
that back to you.
Item number 7, moving on, appointment of city council members to council committees.
Here's your list, Mayor. You will just read that list off.
And I went through this list and I appointed some folks, and hopefully everybody's okay with this. Public Works Committee, David Hodges, Kyle Wallace, Tom Koblenz. For the Blighted Building Ordinance Review, Tom Koblenz, John Hancock, Steve Ward. Finance Committee, Eugene Bustamante, Blake Barger, John Hancock. Comprehensive Plan Oversight Committee, myself, Eugene Bustamante, Blake Barger, Steve Ward. Employee Benefits Committee, David Hodges, Eugene Bustamante, Kyle Wallace. Solid Waste Contract Committee, Eugene Bustamante, Blake Barger, Tom Koblenz. Economic Development Committee, John Hancock, David Hodges, Steve Ward.
We're doing away.
And the El Campo Volunteer Fire Department Property Expansion Committee, we had a committee for that here a while back. We were doing some things, but we're not doing anything with that anymore, so we're gonna do away with that committee there. Any questions or comments on that?
You'll get a full publication of these, of which committee you're on, from our office when I send my update this Friday.
Moving on to item number 8, which is reports. Item number 1 is a review of preliminary capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2025 through 2030.
And good news for everyone, I'm not going to walk you through this presentation because we're all adults and can read. Also, because you'll be seeing it again at a budget workshop, which seems to be the theme tonight. What we've got in here is a very aggressive $45 million capital plan over the next, it says 2030, but it's really 2032, over the next few years. It involves issuing nearly 30 million either in debt or grant funds. The good news is you've been pretty successful doing grant funds. You have nearly $25 million in active grant funds right now. So I definitely wouldn't headline the paper that the city's issuing 30 million in debt, because that is not our intention. As this is a preliminary plan. It can change. You're going to be asked to prioritize what you want to see first and what you want to kick down the road. You'll also direct us as to where you want to go with grant funding. So this is just a sneak peek. We're giving this to you as a report so that you can see where our head is. And if we don't have what you want in this list, or if we have something on this list that you think we need to move up or move down, that conversation will happen at our budget workshop. But as Councilmember Ward's pointed out numerous times, we need a plan. So this is the first step towards that plan, is putting it in front of you, showing you what we've identified, and then getting your thoughts on where to put these things. And so it's in your packet for you to take home. You'll be seeing it again. We'll actually go through the full presentation later, and you can provide direction on how you want to handle this in the future as we go through that budget cycle. That is all I have on this. If you want to ask me any questions about this report right now, I'll be happy to attempt to answer them. Myself or your finance director will help. If it's project-related, we'll bring in Kevin, because most of these are his. I think all of them are Kevin's.
Kevin was busy.
Kevin will be busy, yeah. We have a lot of work to do. And the big ones are West Norris, Avenue C, and Avenue I. The good news is that most of this is funded through, a lot of this is funded through utility debt, and you have the capacity to take on that debt in the future. So we're very confident that you can fund the utility projects, that you may come into some issues with your general fund projects if you're reluctant to tweak that rate. So we'll have to do some planning for you and provide you with a pro forma so you can see what that looks like.
Mr. Sladak, I just want to say it's well put together for a sneak peek.
Oh,
So I
thanks.
appreciate that, and we'll be looking through it and providing feedback. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Wallace, for comments.
Where are we at on the South Wharton? Are we, when will that go out for bid and construction begin?
We're waiting on, we're right about 60% planned right now. Everything has been done, we just passed that. So, I would see that within 60 days being ready for bid.
And North Wharton's completed, correct? It's ready to go out for bid?
It is 100%, but not quite ready for bid. They're still tweaking a few of the alignments for the future growth of that road.
Right, okay, thank you.
As a reminder, that North Wharton, we're using the TxDOT engineers. Pate Dawson is the firm to make sure that we have that all planned out.
We're gonna have to work on the water line sooner rather than later.
Unfortunately, yes.
You got a big leak over there right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, and one last thing, the slide at the swimming pool.
Complete.
I'm looking at Renee. You want to give an update on the slide
Is
at
it
the
just
swimming pool?
Is it just gonna be closed, or are we gonna, do we have a plan to replace it?
No, we had an engineer inspect it and it's ready to be back online.
Okay, good, all right, thank you.
Thank you for that, Renee. All right, at this time, I believe we've covered everything, and there will be no additional items on the agenda. This meeting is adjourned at 6:47 PM. Thank y'all.